Welcome to Real Coaching Radio, the podcast for coaches by coaches. We are here to teach you how to get the most out of your clients and yourself. This is where beauty meets the beast, brains meet brawn, and science meets, well, bro science. Welcome to Real Coaching Radio. Welcome back to another episode of Real Coaching Radio. My name's Charlie. In today's episode, me and Mark discuss kind of science versus hard work, the kind of optimal versus just going into the gym and actually working your ass off. I think this is one of our better podcasts we've done recently because I think people get really confused on what should I do when I go into the gym. Like, do I need to know all of these different things? And I myself have overthought almost every single part of my training at some different time. So I hope you enjoy this one. Again, give us 5 stars on iTunes if you can. Share these episodes on Instagram. You can tag Real Coaching Radio in it, or tag me, Hat the Body, Hat the Mind, or tag Mark Argent Series. Yeah. Cheers, guys. Enjoy the episode. Where do you want to start with this topic?
I know. How did your squat session go the other day?
Yeah, all right, fair. So, best way to explain this topic is, I guess, overthinking your training. And I think I'll explain what happened with my squat session. I basically watched an hour seminar or webinar on the low bar back squat. Pretty much half hour before / in my warm up towards the back squat.
Mate, you were literally warming up with your headphones in, watching this lecture, and I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
So I may have overthought my squat that day, to the point of just didn't know what to do, didn't know where to put my body, how to move my legs, like how to brace my core, what to do with my head, where to put the bar on my back. Like, I just completely confused myself, like to the point of like that squat session I hit like 170 for 1. The week after I hit 185 for 1 just doing my normal squat, and like then hit like 160 for 4 straight after. So I kind of have gone from just overthinking absolutely everything in the minute details because there's a lot of people telling you it matters. And I suppose this has kind of got us into the discussion and thinking about the discussion of what is more important, what does matter, what is the balance to strike, because I think that's the bit that I guess I get not confused on, but like when I first trained and I didn't really know anything, I just used to have it, and now I train and that gets put to the back of my mind because I can't really go full force into a session when I'm thinking about everything under the sun to do with that session. So it's...
And I think the same, because there's been a few times, I would say, I don't know, I could probably pinpoint in my life of training where there's been specific time periods where I've either had a specific training partner or I've been training a specific way, and for a period of time there's been no, I could probably say there's always been like not really that much structure to it. There was a period of time where I was just like full on CrossFit, and there wasn't really a huge amount of structure. It was kind of like, went into the gym, how you feeling, what hurts, what doesn't hurt, how your legs feeling, yeah, fine, right, let's back squat.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like, right, what now? Like, well, let's just fuck up our legs a little bit more. And then that kind of like continued, and it's sort of just like, oh, well, this doesn't have too many DOMs, let's do this. Like, this doesn't have that many DOMs, let's do this. So it didn't really, it had structure to a certain extent, because it was kind of like, well, my legs are really sore, let's kind of like just do something that doesn't heavily involve the legs. So it had structure in that way, but it didn't really. It was kind of just like, well, what do you fancy doing today? And then even then, it was kind of like, when we said, like, what do you fancy doing? It was sort of like, well, what are we going to do? Like, but I would say like there was time periods where I did that, and I was probably one of the strongest and fittest that I've ever been. I would say there's time periods where I've tried to specifically focus on thinking maybe a little bit too much about the science. And actually, like, I can honestly say that every single time I've considered the science too much, actually physically in my sessions, I've either had not a particularly good session, or I don't really feel like the output has been there, and over time, I know that I've got a little bit weaker. I know I have.
Mad, isn't it?
Yeah, whereas there's been time periods where it's just like, I'm just going to have it for 8 weeks, and I've got stronger. But I will say that what I think is an important thing to consider is, like, you said that when you were younger, you just used to go into the gym and just have it. And
literally do whatever I wanted.
Yeah, okay, and felt good and had some, like, good sessions, got stronger.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I think you could still do that now, but it would still be, like, a better session scientifically, if you want to put it that way, because during that time period back then to now, your knowledge has increased. So the mindset is still the same in terms of, like, I'm just going to go into the gym and just, like, send it. But because your knowledge has increased, like, naturally your exercise selection, your rep selection, your rest periods are just considered a little bit more, just because your overall knowledge has increased, even though you're potentially you don't even think you're considering those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. But, like, even though I think that's the thing, because everything you learn changes your behaviors to some level.
Yeah.
So it's like, to be able, and this, I think this is why it's just like, it's so funny, because it's like talking about basic science and the optimal way to train. I feel like there's an optimal balance between, like, using the science and then just working really hard.
Yeah.
And it's trying to find that, like, and I don't know whether this is a thing of, you think about your session to the point before you do it, in the sense of with your programming, with how you set up the week, with how you set up every different cycle, because some kind of structure is better than just winging it.
Yep.
But at the same time, like, when it comes to going in and doing the session, you need to know what you're actually doing. What's
I
the
think
focus?
you've got to turn that bit off, haven't you? And then just, like, go in and do it. But I also think that you can get results without science and just go to the gym and work damn hard. And we know that because you see morons in the gym all the time who are jacked and don't know what they're doing. They just go in and just put as much weight on the bar as they can and move it.
Yeah.
Like, probably not the most optimal way to do things, but man, what these guys are doing is working, because they're building muscle, they're getting bigger, they're getting stronger, right?
Yeah.
So you can gain results with hard work and almost no consideration for the science. Like, you're not getting results if you just have consideration for the science and don't put in any hard work.
Yeah. So and the reason I find this really interesting is because there's, like, when I first started training, it was like, for me, it was, our program is the most important part of it. And then when, like, I watched, like, one of Chris Bumstead's videos the other day, and he was like, oh, well, I want us to do that shoulder press, but that one's taken, so I'm just going to go over and do this other one. Doesn't change anything. He's still probably going to win the Olympia. And it's like, wait, so the guy at the top is just going, well, I need to hit these type of things. Yeah. So I'm going to go in and work to failure, work as hard as I can to do those things under whatever circumstances I've got. And, like, it just made me think, kind of, I think the science side of it is, like, I'm always trying to question my knowledge. So then when I learn something new, I'm like, oh, this might be the thing that really helps me. And I think we always do that. Yeah. Like, this bit of knowledge that I've now learned is going to be the thing which takes me, like, to the next level or whatever. And to some extent that works to a degree, because you change some aspects of your training, you change some aspects of your form and technique, and something feels better, you work better, your body moves better. So you do ultimately get something better out of it. But it's that fine line of, like, maybe don't do it as you're warming up for your back squat. Yeah,
you've got to find a way to, like, switch off. It's almost the same as, kind of, I'm a big culprit of this, and, like, during my training sessions, like, I'll read emails and I'll reply to emails, and it's just like, that's obviously a distraction to my training. And, you know, sometimes I end up, like, leaving sessions halfway through because I've got to sort something out. And I feel like focusing too much on watching that video that you did, like almost like whilst your session, is almost like on the similar sort of lines. It's just like completely ruins the session because it's to just a certain extent.
Your focus is elsewhere, and it kind of takes away from the whole point of it.
Yeah,
and that's the thing of just like, I've got a session in my week where I work on the technique of my back squat. Why in the session which I put for like, this is my output session, am I going to look at these things that I don't necessarily need to? And it's just a case of, it's really difficult because the optimal movement at the moment that you see everywhere, which is like pretty much splitting hairs, arguing different exercises and arguing different points on like, you've got to do it a certain way. It just seems to like, I think people like misunderstand the importance of just working at some level of intensity within a session that is planned. Like, have some kind of structure, but at the end of the day, what exercise you use to hit a certain muscle group or to train a certain way, like, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
If I'm there trying to build muscle specifically, the exercise that I choose to do that pretty much comes down to the one I enjoy the most. And I'm just going to try and get stronger and get better form each week. I'm not going to come in and completely try to like rechange the wheel or just beat myself up because I'm like, oh, well, I chose like that single arm dumbbell row and I actually should have chose a cable row because it's constant tension. And it's just like, but are we splitting hairs on that aspect when optimal doesn't, like you always say, optimal doesn't actually exist? And I suppose it's exactly the same thing as when you're programming for someone. I kind of have, the conversation I have with people now is just like, what do you enjoy? Because like if we put an exercise in you enjoy and you can keep getting stronger on that, you're probably going to get the results.
Yeah, and you're going to get stronger.
And it's just like, it is as simple as that. Do the exercise right and try to get stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I was looking at a training program the other day, just kind of like, I do that a lot, just like look at other programs just to kind of like see how other people do things. I was looking at this one training program. There's a lot of people who got some good results from it. It's nothing great. Do you know what? Every single time I see a program that has driven some good results and I look into it in a little bit deeper and I look into it in a little bit more detail, there's always a common theme. And that common theme is like, they're always quite simple programs. They're never overly complex. And I was looking at this one program and on these specific days, it didn't even give exercises. Yeah. It just gave like, right, horizontal push.
Class.
Choose whichever horizontal push you want to do and just do it.
I love that though, because like and that's the thing of programming, right? And this is genuinely like, programming obviously makes a difference if it's done right to like go for a specific goal. If you've got a specific goal, like especially like if you compared a CrossFit program, which is just stuff, to a CrossFit program, which is thought out about the individual's strengths, weaknesses, goals, like time frames and all of that, lifestyle, the program which is thought about it better is going to be the one that's going to give you more results. The one that's got some actual thoughts and principles behind it is going to give you better results. But it still comes down to the individual carrying out that task if they're putting in the right intensity. Because if someone who is putting in like not that much intensity, say 50% on the program which is perfect for them, compared to someone who's putting 100% into a program which isn't, probably going to get more results for 100%.
Absolutely. But effort is the thing that's going to determine everything. Like we could give two people the same program and just be like, one of them just like goes through the motions and like thinks things are hard, they're not really hard. One of them just like goes in and buries himself every day. Yeah. One of them's going to come out on top.
It's so funny because I think this comes from, and I don't know if this is like, I don't know, I'll talk on my behalf because it's the impact it's had on me, in the sense of whenever I look to try and gain more knowledge, normally it's because of like an insecurity of mine on the fact that I don't feel like I know enough. So like the imposter syndrome thing which comes up when I'm trying to do an exercise or teach an exercise, and there's people within the industry that I know more than me, and so I'll listen to the information they've got, and it gets to this point where I start to like disagree with the information they're giving. And it's really difficult because I seem to like put people on a pedestal of like, this person is the god. They know everything about this subject. I must listen to everything they say. And as I start to get older or start to learn more, I start to question more about that person and just be like, actually, they don't know as much as I thought they did, or at least the knowledge they do have is great. But there's also this other point of view. There's also this other idea. Also this other technique which could work better for a situation. And I think that's why like the dogmatic statements of this is how you do something, or this is the way to train, or this is the way you should program for strength work, or conjugate method this, or kind of even like on a basic sense of like, let's just do whatever we want in the gym and that will get you results. It's like, okay, but these sweeping statements don't make any sense because you're not open to the fact that like there's all of these different ideas and different ways to go into train. Pick one and just work really hard at it.
Yeah. I think, to be honest with you, I think if somebody is so specific on doing a specific thing, I actually look at that as almost like a slight lack of intelligence, because like I definitely know that, similar to what you've just said, that like the more knowledge I gained over time, the more open-minded I become to like, well, this works, but this also works, and this also works. So like, choose any of them. So
it's so funny because the information, like literally the more information you learn, the more you can start to change your opinions on things, change your behaviors to work towards whatever goal it is you're going after. So it's like, but the difference is that people take information and then that becomes them. Yeah. So they take that information and goes, well, that's what I'm going to do now. This information that I've just learned and gained is going to be what defines me, my training, myself as I go through life. Yeah. And it's like, can we stop taking information and just putting yourself as, now I'm the poster boy for this? It's like, take that information and let it battle against the information you currently have and actually pit the two against each other to be able to make a decision on what you think works best. Yeah.
But I do think there's one common theme in terms of like, when we said like this works, and this works, the common theme is none of them will work without effort.
Yeah. And that is, but I think that's the common theme with absolutely everything.
Yeah.
It's just dependent on what you want and how much you want it. Kind of that Mike Van Wyck was talking about bodybuilders the other day and just saying like how bodybuilders are like complaining about, I'm only eating like 2,500 calories. I'm like in this massive deficit, like feel malnourished. And he's like, that's more than most people eat on a daily basis. Like you're not malnourished, but it's a case of like, how hard do you want to go? Yeah. Because that will give you the result.
But I think that, kind of going off topic a little bit again, but like, I think that is, and this is absolutely an opinion, and like, I don't care. Like, I think that nowadays we are just like, we're finding easier ways to do things. And you know what? Like, in some ways, I kind of get it. Like, we could, if you can find something that's like a little bit more effective and costs less energy to do that, and I'm talking, and this could be absolutely anything in the world, not just training. If you can find a more efficient and effective way to do something, then like, why not do it? But I do think with exercise, like there's an element to exercise where like it builds some mental resilience, it builds some hardness, and it's kind of like that for me in the fitness industry is just becoming more and more and more removed. Yeah. No one's just like, so why are you doing that? Because it's fucking hard. That's why I'm doing it. No, but I'm gonna do this little exercise instead because like it's much easier. And just like that is not one of the biggest reasons I like got into exercise, because I just loved that feeling of feeling battered, feeling exhausted. Like it gave me like this adrenaline rush. Yeah. And now, like, to be honest with you, like people are getting adrenaline rushes from like stepping into a cold shower. Yeah. I'm like, mate, like it's just a little bit of cold water.
Yeah, it's not. It's. Do you know what it is? I think it's the fact that people really want to work hard. I think people they like the idea and the glorification of like the kind of the hardcore bodybuilding, the hardcore training, the David Goggins, the like Nick Bear running like ultra marathons. Like, I want to do that, but at the same time, like having to put the effort in to do it, that's the bit that people just like, they can't get that final bit. I think that's the thing of like, when you commit to do anything, and this is what we spoke about recently, is like, I've got this thing at the moment where it's like, am I going to do something within the industry, or am I going to just keep talking about doing something within the industry? And I think it's that distinction of being able to look at yourself and just go, what am I actually here to do? Like, I've had clients who come to me, I want to lose weight, and then 3 or 4 months down the line, turns out they don't want to lose weight. And it's like, okay, so what part of you is saying I do? What part of you is saying I don't? Which one's going to win and why? Because it's just, if you did want to come and do this thing, we have to build up this level of resilience to get you there. And I know this kind of, I come from a very empathetic point of view of like, everyone's on a journey, and wherever they are on that journey, I want to help them to get to the point where they can make the decision to actually lose the weight. That's always the goal. But at the same time, like when it comes to people within the fitness industry, voices within the fitness industry, or people within the fitness industry, like, you've got to have some level of hard work within you.
But I think that's it. Like, and the older I've got, like, I do 100% see that, like, you know, the empathy side of things, the sympathetic side of things, and I bring that within my coaching. Like, I get it, and I think it's important. But it is that, like, there's, I think somebody might, I don't know, I don't care, but I think there's a lot of like, we're kind of making it okay now to just sort of like not be in shape. Like, that's kind of all right now. Like, that's it. I'm going to say that it's acceptable. Like, and it is acceptable. If that's what you want to do, like, fine. But like, it's sort of, I don't know, like the amount of conversations I've had with people where it's kind of like, oh, well, I really want to achieve this, but like, you know, I got offered to go out for dinner here, I like went out for drinks here, went out and did it. Well, then you're not going to achieve that. Yeah.
But the whole idea of because it was like, it's the like health at any size movement, that for me was really confusing, because I feel like it was just it's just a load of people trying to push, like, you've said something, because what you've said's offended me, that's now offensive, in the sense of like, oh, like obesity's not healthy. Like, people are like, obesity is healthy, health at any size. It's like, no, like, it's not actually healthy.
Yeah, right. You go to a doctor, you go to a doctor, tell you it's unhealthy.
Your blood work's not right, and it's like, okay, so what part of you is, and this is why, like, I think the psychology side of like that comes into the psychology and the physiology that merge together in this like realm of fitness, I think is really important here, because it's just like, hang on a minute, there's something stopping you from being able to look in the mirror and go, I've got a problem I need to deal with. There's something you're using, whether you're using food as a drug, whether you're just you're struggling with commitment to any type of thing, or you're just like, you're too afraid to look yourself in the mirror and look at the dragon that's like this big scary thing, so you just go, oh, actually it's all right, I'm not even going to think about it. And for me, it's like, whenever I get someone in front of me, the conversations I've turned around to and just gone, what's actually going on? Because it's like, there's something stopping you here, let's try and get you through that. And that's why I say I come from an empathetic point of view, in the sense of like, it's really weird, I'm unempathetic and empathetic. I'm unempathetic in the sense of just fucking get on with it. But at the same time, I'm empathetic with like, look, I understand there's probably way more that goes into this. We need to educate you to a point of like, give you more information so you can figure out, actually, I'm just bullshitting myself here.
But I just think that's almost the perfect balance of coaching, because like, that's what you're trying to do. You need to be empathetic to people's situations and everything else that's going on, but they're coming to you for help. So at the same time, you need to call out their bullshit and just be like, well,
this is why I think yes, like the yes men thing, or the like coach who's kind of like, everything's okay. It's like, you're not actually going to help that person, because you need to challenge them in the correct way, in the sense of you need to be empathetic, but you need to challenge them when it comes to, actually, what you're doing right now isn't healthy, and it's not going to get you to where you need to be. That is what they're coming for you for. When people say accountability, like, accountability comes from the challenge. If you challenge them to be better, and that's because that's what people go on about, like, when you get in a relationship with someone, like romantic relationship, the reason you stay with them for a long period of time is they give you the ability to be the best person you can be, but they also give you the ability to be better than you currently are. Because yes, we accept you as you currently are, but know that you're shit and you need to improve these things. And like the same relationship needs to come from friends. It needs to come in a certain degree from colleagues if you're all trying to achieve something big within like an organization. And it needs to become from a coaching relationship. Yeah. You need to be able to turn around to someone and go like, what you're doing right now is bullshitting yourself. But it takes a level of empathy and a level of understanding that you actually give a fuck for them to be able to accept it when you turn around to them and go, you're doing that thing again and you're trying to get out of it. And it's like, no, like it's...
Yeah. And I just think we're moving further and further away from that. Like,
but I think that's why, I genuinely think that's why these conversations are really good, because it's a reminder of like, as the world gets more soft, it's a reminder of you can still be empathetic, you can still be a good person, and you can still push people to be the best they can be.
Yeah, because I'm not saying, so like if I go back to when I first started training, like the gyms that I used to go to, and it was kind of like you'd walk into the gym and there wasn't, most of the people that were members there were in good, wicked shape. But the people that worked there were just like, fuck.
Yeah, really good shape.
Yeah. And I'm not saying, and I don't think, and I'm not saying like that is like how it should be. But nowadays, like trainers don't even look like they train.
So me and my mate take the piss out of each other because he was like, oh, I'm in mint shape, and I was like, I'll give me a few weeks, and I was like, I'll be in way better shape than that. And he was like, mate, you're a PT, you're supposed to be in better shape.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no.
But it's also like, I think like people's definition of like I'm in mint shape, is not what. No. If you go back 15 years and you're like, right, that is mint shape, like that nowadays you're not even close.
No, and this is the thing of like, you do have to just be honest with like the effort you're willing to give at the current point, but just always have in your mind like, I'm gonna try to be better, I'm gonna try to be more resilient, I'm gonna try to like keep pushing my own boundaries to get myself better, to be in a position where I can have the body I want. I think like at the end of the day, like we've had to have anyone who's in any decent shape, like, and anyone who's got anywhere with training wise specifically, or even any of a success, has just had to push through some kind of like adversity. And the more adversity you give yourself, you're exposed to, the more you can start to deal with adversity in the future. And that's why like hard shit gets easier the more hard shit you do.
But this is one of the reasons why I have so much respect for like people who are like in good shape, or like really good shape, and who are or really fit or really strong, because like I know for a fact like you weren't just born like that. Like you've had to like give it some graft to get there.
I suppose that's where the information we learn when it comes to the science versus the working hard part of it is, it's like I'm trying to master myself as a person. Every time you go into the gym, you're trying to be a better person. And the more you learn about training, yes, it changes. You change the way you train, or you can overthink things. But like if you think about part of me trying to learn more and be better is to push the envelope, is to try and push the limits of these things, because yes, the science says this. What if I just do this thing? What if I push this program, this session to its hardest it can be? What will happen next week? What will happen the week after? What will happen in a month's time?
But that's part of like an evidence-based process, because like an evidence-based process isn't just, well, this paper says do this. This research paper does that.
And I suppose that's the anecdote, the kind of anecdotal part of fitness is like, there are so many big people who know nothing, and it's because they work hard.
Yeah.
I think like, so I'm reading a book at the moment called Musashi, and long story short, he gets locked in a room for 3 years and all he can do is read books. And the monk who locks him in a room basically says to him a quote from like a scholar and says like, I've read thousands of scriptures, and every time I finish, my heart sees the world differently. And the reason I loved that was like, the more information I learn, the more I can change my opinion, the more I can start to change my approach to things. But then the guy, the Musashi, when he leaves, he basically turns around to this monk and goes, I'm off to master myself. And the reason I love that is because you can learn as much as you want, and you can change your opinions and change your view of the world, but the fact still comes, you have to try your best to be the best and be your best. And that comes from learning things, but then still having this grit within inside you to go, I'm going to go and put all of this effort in, all these things I've learned, and I'm not going to overthink them. I'm just going to work hard with this new knowledge I've got.
Yeah. But it's kind of like, and I always think if you don't do that, like all of that knowledge is pretty useless and wasted.
But that's the thing of like, it's any type of new science that comes out that people then like cherry pick to push forward their way of training. I just kind of, it just completely, I think people just completely misunderstand it. It's not that one thing's better than another, to be honest with you. Like some things are more optimal and better for you, but like that's the process of coaching, because we find that for clients, what's going to work best for you. Now just work hard at it.
Yeah.
And it seems to be that simple, but it's very easy to overthink it.
But I think like some of the things is like you have to work hard at it for a long period of time. And I think the combination of those two things is what unfortunately a lot of people just don't want to do.
Yeah. So I guess it is that. I guess like when it comes down to this conversation and kind of, it isn't science versus hard work at all, because it's more like, I guess, mastery, like educate yourself and learn to work hard.
Yeah, because like you can go in and go, oh, that session, I worked really hard in that session. It's just like, yeah, well, you got to get up tomorrow and do it again.
Yeah, and that's why I think like I really do think I love training for this type of stuff, because I had 2 weeks of overthinking absolutely everything. I changed my bench press width, like with my grip. Like I didn't know where to put the bar on a back squat. Like I've pretty much ruined my shoulder from changing my bench press grip. And like the one thing I didn't change was anything to do with my deadlift, and my deadlift's pretty good. And it's just like,
there's a surprise.
Work yourself to a point which you know works, and work hard at that point. Anything else?
No, I think that's a good place to finish.
Sound. We'll see you on the next one, guys. Hope you enjoyed that one, gang. I think going forward, we're going to try and release once a week. We're going to try and get a few more people in to kind of join us on these conversations. We're going to try and get a better place to be instead of a wooden room. But yeah, this is part of the grind. I think that episode rings true for a lot of things. Just working hard will get you almost anywhere. If you're struggling to get to a place you want to be, it just comes down to working hard. Like, I understand the limits of my knowledge. I understand that I don't know anywhere near as much as I want to or need to when it comes to helping people with their like mental health and their physical health. There is almost endless information that we can learn. So I suppose it's just knowing the knowledge that you do have and trusting the process of just trying to care and work hard that will get you pretty much most of the way. With the continuous exploration and continuous gain of knowledge, just to kind of, I guess, part of what we do this podcast for is to let you know about other things that we do. Origin Athletic Gym in Bristol. If you're in Bristol, come and give us a try. We have a 7-day free trial going on. My PT course. So if you're looking to become a level 3 personal trainer, a lot of courses do it online. We have done it online over the pandemic, but we're going back to face-to-face days purely because there is a lot more that we can get done in face-to-face days, and I think it's very, very vital. It's surprising how much people do not know how to exercise. So for us to try and help you guys as best as we can, my PT course and the level 3 days are going back to live days. Most of the course is still online, so all of the assessments and all of the lectures are done online. But when it comes to practically how to train people, coaching and exercises, we're bringing that back to in-person so you guys can learn as much as you can. Head to myptcourse.com for that. If you want programming, you can speak to Mark, Origin Series online, or you can speak to me, Hack the Body, Hack the Mind. Yeah, these are the things we're just getting done. But thank you so much for tuning in, gang. We will see you on the next one.